Hello, everyone. Thank you for making the choice to invest in your business by joining today's live event, an exclusive interview with financial advisor and Snap Projections user, Renee Hawk. Say hi, Renee.
Hi, thanks so much for having me.
Thank you for being here. In today's session, we are going to be digging into Renee's process to learn how she has leveraged financial planning software to triple her monthly referrals, easily earn more income from existing clients, and have better, more impactful conversations. My name is Alex Mercer. I'm part of the team here at Snap Projections, and I will be your host today. Today's session is going to start with a short presentation to introduce you to Snap Projections, break down the steps within the financial planning process, and we'll wrap this section up with sharing what our research has found are the top 6 retirement and financial planning questions your clients want answers to. All of that should take just about 7 or 8 minutes, and then we'll move on to our interview with Renee. That should leave us with plenty of time for your questions. Please check your handouts tab. It's in your control panel. Just click on the arrow and that box will open up for you. You'll find 2 downloadable resources there. The case study we completed on Renee's practice, plus an additional resource for you that explains the new technology rules for CFPs that were announced over the summer by the FP Canada Standards Council. Before we get started, I'd like to just do a quick tech check to make sure you can all hear me and see my screen. Can I get each of you to send me a quick yes or even a smiley face through your question tab? Just click on the little arrow there and a window will pop up where you can type and hit send. This is exactly how you'll send any questions you have throughout the session. Wonderful. Thank you, Wayne, Mark, Barbara, Ziad, Gordon. Wonderful. Thank you. All right, so you can all hear me. Okay, so let's get started with a brief overview on what Snap Projections is and why Renee chooses it for her financial planning software needs. Snap Projections is a financial and retirement income planning software platform. We help great financial advisors grow their assets under management and receive more referrals through financial and retirement income planning. Our mission is to help Canadians make better financial decisions so they have peace of mind while they work and a better quality of life when they retire. We execute this mission through working with great financial advisors like yourselves who embrace financial planning because we believe this is the optimal way to provide sound financial advice to Canadian consumers. As the wealth management industry continues to transform, there are endless opportunities for advisors to leverage financial planning advice as a way to enhance their service offering, strengthen the relationship with their clients, gain more referrals, and as a result, grow an incredibly successful financial advisory practice. If you're wondering what other advisors who are already using Snap Projections have to say about us, you don't need to look any further than the reviews page on our website. There, you'll see countless testimonials from advisors just like yourselves. Garth, for example, says that with Snap, his clients actually understand what is going on, which causes them to tell other people about their experiences, resulting in more referrals. Trevor said that moving to Snap was one of the smartest decisions he's made. Those are just a few of the kind words our happy advisors are pleased to share with you folks today. So let's begin with taking a look at the steps within the financial planning process, and then we'll get to the questions that your clients need answers to. More and more, financial advisors are shifting away from being primarily focused on investment or insurance products. Today's top advisors, like Renee, are incorporating financial and retirement income planning into their practices as a way to gain a complete understanding of their clients' needs and how to properly serve them. These advisors are providing financial planning advice using a systematized and structured process, either through comprehensive financial planning or taking a more modular approach to offer targeted services like retirement income planning. With the right platform, even comprehensive financial planning can remain both efficient for the advisor and effective for the client. We can break the financial planning process down into 4 main stages. Step 1 is initiation. We want to make sure that you're attracting and working with your ideal clients. So first we need to figure out if the prospect is going to be a good fit. Once the engagement is in place, we can move into the second stage of information gathering. Once you've gathered everything you need from the client, you move into the actual planning phase, which includes goals discovery, drafting plans and scenarios, addressing client questions, making planning decisions, and ultimately delivering and presenting a complete financial plan. Then It's time to move into the final stage, the implementation, where you're helping the client to execute the recommendations and conducting annual reviews. And if we want to be practical about the financial and retirement income planning process, we need to ask ourselves, where is the real value for your clients throughout this process? Often, there's a misconception about where the real value comes from in this process. Clients typically perceive the value from that final report you prepare for them. But the reality is that financial and retirement income planning is an ongoing process. The real value is generated through goals discovery, addressing clients' questions, and implementing recommendations. During goals discovery, you're finding out what's truly important to them. What do they want, and how can you help to get them there? Next, you're providing answers to their most important questions, such as, do I have enough money to retire, and am I saving enough? Last but certainly not least, come the recommendations. You've given them a path forward that will ensure they achieve their goals, but if that plan isn't executed, the value will never be realized. If there's no implementation of the plan itself doesn't really hold much value. Today, we're going to be talking about how to generate real value for your clients. We're going to focus on how Renee handles goals discovery, addressing client questions, and modeling recommendations. The last tidbit of information I want to share with you today before we get to our interview with Renee is what our research has found are the top financial planning questions your clients need answers to. After over 3,000 interviews, we've been able to determine the 6 most common questions advisors are being asked by their clients. Clients want to know, how long will my money last? Am I going to be okay? How much can I spend in retirement? When should I take my government benefits? Which of my assets should I spend first? Am I saving enough? How much will be left for my kids and other beneficiaries? Addressing your clients' questions is one of the key 3 areas where you can generate real value in the financial and retirement income planning process. And that's exactly why SNAP has been designed to make it quick and easy for you to provide answers to these questions. So with that, it is time to start asking Renee some questions. So first off, Renee, thank you so much again for making time in your busy schedule to be here with me today. I'm really excited about this session because we are going to unpack how you are continuing to provide massive value to your clients through your own financial planning process. So I thought a good place to start, given that we just covered the top 6 questions we know clients need answers to, can you tell me what the top question that you get is?
Definitely one of the biggest concerns clients face is retirement planning is a huge, worry. Clients don't want to outlive their money. That would be a terrible position to be in. So that's definitely one of the biggest concerns that we look at. Aside from that, there's other goals. So when we're doing that, goal collection at that kind of data gathering meeting, it's really understanding, what are your short-term, medium-term, long-term goals, and then going through how are we going to address those.
Yeah, perfect. That makes sense. And so with your goals discovery, do you do a single meeting for that initial goals discovery session, or how do you break that process down with your clients?
Yeah, so that varies sometimes. So depending on the meeting and the client, we might get through the goals and concerns and then also get to the data gathering at that time. So, the goals to me that's the biggest part of this whole thing, because essentially everything that we do, we're designing around those clients' goals, dreams, wishes. So the more we can dig deeper into what our clients want, and sometimes you really have to ask probing questions because we need to quantify this. So, it's whether, I want to be in a house in 2 years. Okay, well, that's great. What does that house look like? Is it a condo? Is it a larger home? What do we need to save to put towards that type of goal? So oftentimes it's really digging in deep and also creating awareness for clients that they might not even realize that they had certain goals, such as risk management.
Okay, interesting. And when people come to you with those sort of, high level goals, you really need to dig in and ask more questions to be able to quantify it. Do you find that people don't always sort of even understand it themselves, like how to break that down and get to something that's actionable?
Absolutely. This field is so interesting because I've always been fascinated by it in terms of going, wow, so you can reach goals. If you set these goals, you can quantify it and reach them. And I think what we need to understand, and we might be naturally inclined to see it from, a bird's eye view, is our clients don't have that same capacity. So we really need to structure a systematic approach with them to sit down and get their initial goals out, dig into it deeper. But our job too is to point out where some of these pitfalls are. And I think that's truly important, not only to show the client that, hey, if we continue on this path, this is where I see some pitfalls, but also compliance wise, we're putting this into place in our file so that we can say, hey, we spoke with the client about this area of concern. Client, whether they decide to move forward or not with your recommendation, it's up to them. That's their decision to make, but at least we've addressed it. And now we have that compliance-wise in our file.
That's right. Okay. And when you say pitfalls, what do you mean by that? Are those gaps that you find in the plan, or?
Correct. So sometimes, when we look at a plan and with SNAP, what I find really cool about this program is that we can go, okay, one of the major goals that people have, let's take retirement planning and go, okay, we're working with a client who's 30 years old. We have 65-year retirement. We have 35 years to work with this. So they're going to spend 35 years building this portfolio and this nest egg and all this kind of stuff. But what if they don't have risk management in place? Because they'll take all that time building it, and it will only take one death, one disability, one critical illness to blow that whole thing apart.
Mm,
And with mortality and morbidity rates, we know that the stats are is 1 in 3 people are going to face a disability before the age of 65 for a period of 2 years. So knowing that, it's our job to make sure that we point this out, that if something like that happens, that's going to blow our plan apart.
exactly. Okay. And you use Snap to model all of those different scenarios for your clients.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. Very cool. Okay, well, so let's go back to the beginning a little bit. And so I'd like to know a little bit about how you moved into um, providing financial advice and becoming just such a holistic financial advisor. Did you start initially with that approach, or has that evolved, over the last few decades?
Yeah, well, and that's interesting. I think when I first started in this industry, I'm going to share just one of my first stories because I didn't even know I could have such an impact. So I thought it was really cool. I met with a young client, and I was young at that time too, and she wanted to get into a house. And I was like, okay, well, let's see what that looks like. Let's figure out what we need to get down. And she was like, yeah, I think, it's going to take 5-6 years to save up for that down payment kind of thing. And I was like, well, when do you want to get into the house kind of thing? And she's like, well, sooner would be nice. So we put this plan together, and this is where it was really cool. And at that time, horrible software and very confusing. I was using NaviPlan, which I don't know if anybody's used NaviPlan, but it can be very complex, and a report that your client doesn't want to see that report. They won't. Anyways, it was a neat story because she ended up getting into her house in 2 years. And my hair stood up on my arms. It was the first client that I helped achieve her goal. So I was ecstatic, my hair is standing up all over the place. She's thrilled. She comes into my office and couldn't be happier. So to me, that was the start where I really understood why I'm in this career and
Mhm.
what I can actually do. So it did become really client focused, client goal oriented, and the rest of it is just products and tools to make it happen. I have no control over the market, so why am I focusing, so intensely in that arena? Well, the markets are the markets. What I can do is utilize something like SNAP. What I can do is utilize, historical performance. We look at index charts going up and down over previous pandemics, wars, et cetera. It's continued to go up. So, we have these rates of returns in SNAP. We have inflation in SNAP. And, we can utilize these projections to dish out a pretty accurate and solid plan. So it's fabulous to be able to help people reach their goals.
Oh, that's such a neat story. And so, yeah, and that's interesting too about modeling the long-term, market volatility, right? And so I think with the pandemic, especially like the things we've been seeing, nobody would have predicted all of this would have gone on. So obviously, Snap has been a tool for you to support your clients with all of the drastic ups and downs and changes throughout. But how has the pandemic changed? Not just the planning process, but just sort of, your client management process, and what's changed for you throughout the pandemic and how have you continued to grow throughout it?
Yeah, so that's been a huge change and very interesting because I'm a people person and I'm that type of person where I'm out all the time. And that's essentially how I created relationships. I was out all day. I was never in the office. I was out meeting people. So when the pandemic hit, I was completely thrown for a loop. And, just kind of looking at going, well, I guess it's some time where I can do some book cleanup or whatever have you. I wasn't focused on going, how am I going to prospect? I was more going, when is this going to end so I can get back out there? So it completely changed. And, I started realizing that this isn't going to change. And even if things do get back to normal, this new platform and how we are doing things probably still isn't going to change. So that's when I actually really got into Snap because I was using different software prior. To me, it wasn't user friendly and I found it frustrating and irritating. So then I'd start piecemealing plans, things like that, because do you want to give this 150-page report to a client? No, I want to go over what's important. So then starting to use Snap, I did it on myself first and going, when can I retire? So, and when I went through the program, I was like, well, this is kind of cool, actually. So I phoned a client who's been a client of mine for a long time. And I said, hey, I got this new software. And I was like, I really want to do a plan for you based on this because it's really cool. You have to see this. And what I found fascinating about it was I started off with this one client just as an experiment and fun. And what ended up happening was we co-created the plan. And I think that's what Snap is about. This is not about me going away and entering all this data and coming back with this huge report. This is about you can be with the client and sit with them face to face, but this software also works amazing over Teams or Zoom or whatever platform it is you're using. And you can pull it up and it's so easy that you sit there with your client and they get really excited about it. So with this particular client, we had it up and we're like, okay, this is your income. Let's put it in. Let's see where you are right now. So entered all the data into the system. And they're with me looking at it going, oh yeah, I see the inflation rate there. Oh yeah, okay, that's about my rate of return that I've consistently been getting. Okay, cool. Well, let's see what that looks like. So it got to what they would have in retirement at 65, and they're like, well, that's not enough. And I was like, well, I guess we better make some changes then. What are we going to do? So, at that time we start manipulating. And this is where it's neat because you put their current situation up, you create a new situation and just start manipulating it. But the client is the one that gets excited and they're like, well, I'm putting in, $500 every 2 weeks now. What does it look like if I put 800 in every 2 weeks? How does that change 20 years down the road? And we do it right there with them. And then they're like, that's cool. So they're more excited about the process. And, it's great to hear their excitement and how that works. So doing that with that one client, sat down. Well, I've never had a client actually walk away from a meeting and go and over the weekend talk to 5 friends. and said, you got to check this program out because Renee just did this for me. It's the coolest thing. So I changed this and I'm going to reach my goal. So that next week, I get emails from my client saying, hey, you know that program that you went through? Can you contact my friend and do that with them because they need it? So, and it was funny because that next couple of weeks, I ended up meeting with 5 people in their neighborhood, and they were cracking jokes saying, well, Renee, you need to buy a place out here because pretty soon everybody's going to be on the block working with you. So that was, just one way where it was like, this program is so intuitive and so client friendly, and they're so involved. And I think that's what makes the key difference is if they don't have skin in the game like that and are that excited about it, it's going to be like presenting any other plan.
Oh, exactly. And that's one thing we hear from our advisors all the time is that one of the biggest challenges is getting clients engaged, is
Mhm.
getting them to care and getting them to see the value in why they need a plan. That,
Absolutely.
doing that sort of blind investing isn't just enough. You actually need to get into the planning. So it's really neat to hear that that's the experience that you're having and that your clients are engaged. And you mentioned to me earlier that you had somebody call you this morning just to
Yeah.
let you know about an income change because he
Yeah.
wanted you to be able to build it into his plan.
Well, and that was also really quite something I thought because how I feel, with know your client, we should be meeting with our clients at least once a year type of thing. And this is where we would sit down and be like, has there been any material changes, whatever have you. But in the past, it's been typically me reaching out and me keeping in touch and digging in and going, okay, well, have there been any changes, And people don't think to phone you with an increase in income,
Mm.
but we just did this plan. So this plan was developed and everything was finally just put in place, all the products secured and all that kind of stuff about 2 weeks ago. And this client co-created, super cool. And I'll go back a little bit because this plan is actually quite cool. They have really decent income and they wanted to pay their house off within 4 years. So their mortgage rate that they just got was like 1.45%. And so he's looking and going, yeah, I'm going to put an extra, 55,000 a year on my mortgage and pay it off really fast. And I was like, you can, sure. Why don't we take your current situation right now, put that up, and then let's go and see what your net worth looks like if you pay your mortgage off early. So we did that program next and we did the comparison. He's like, cool, I'm not going to have any debt in 4 years. And I said, yeah, can I show you one more scenario though before you actually commit to that? Let's take a look at what it would look like if you put half towards the mortgage and half towards an investment. So we did that, and he was like, huh, because with the mortgage, the net worth didn't really change that much. You're just paying off your debt faster.
Mm.
With the investment, now we're looking at compounding growth. And he was blown away. So he was like, well, why would I pay my mortgage off early? And I was like, exactly. So we changed his whole plan. He's not
Yeah.
paying his mortgage off early. He's still, putting additional funds on it, but he's increased his investments significantly. So, when you look at that, he's putting 20,000 a year onto the mortgage, but now 30,000 more towards his investments. So this is going to increase his net worth significantly. The guy's 27 years old. So
Wow.
advisors, we can think about what that compounding growth is going to do for him. So
Yeah.
he's the one that phoned me this morning. He was super pumped about his plan. Like I said, we co-created it. He was the one that was going, well, change that number there. He said, for that, that investment amount, change that there. So he's the one that, manipulated the software with me. And he's the one that phoned this morning and said, so Renee, I just had to pay increase, so I have another 30,000 that I need to change. So can you change my income on there and see what that looks like, and then take that extra money and put it in the investment so we can see what that looks like. And that literally happened like half an hour before this webinar started. So like I said, it's having these clients engage, which is completely different experience for me. And I've been in the field a long time. So to have people that engaged over this program is phenomenal.
Yeah, it really, really is. And then when you bring it back to a business standpoint for yourself, is that how is that how you wind up sort of organically earning more income from existing customers is because it just makes sense for them. It's what's better for them, and then it consequently winds up being better for you.
It does. It does. Well,
Yeah.
and these particular clients, I can use them as an example. Every single client that I've done a plan with using this program, uh, it's brought more product in. So product is
Okay.
the solution. It's about their needs. So we just pick and choose whatever product is about their needs. But these clients were quite interesting because they don't believe in insurance.
Oh,
And I'm not an insurance pusher. What I do is point out where the gaps are. So he's a high income earner and there's no benefit package in place. So I was like, so the only thing I see with your plan here is what if something happens to you? What's going to happen to your wife? Where's the money going to come from? All that kind of stuff. And he's like, what? So he never really thought about it that way before. It was always, I think he had people approach and, it was a really product driven approach. Whereas we didn't even talk about product at this stage. It was like, we have some gaps here. Do you want to take a look at what those gaps look like and what it could potentially do if you became ill, or what it would potentially do if you weren't here and you and your wife had to survive all this? So it was creating that awakening. And a product is product is product, but once it becomes part of their plan and they look at it and have belief in the plan, that's when the client really buys in to what you want to present.
yeah, exactly. That makes so much sense. And then, so you mentioned that this particular client was 27. Are a lot of your clients younger, or what's your
Not,
typical?
not quite so much. As I age, my book is aged. So I probably started off with younger clients and, so right now my book is more probably in between, I would say 40 to 65, somewhere in there. And then I have,
Okay.
definitely some elderly clients and a few elderly ones, a few younger ones.
Yep, that's right. But the bulk of them would be in the pre-retiree stage. Yeah.
Yeah.
And where do the younger clients come from? Are they typically, I mean, I know that your practice is almost entirely referral based at this point. So are these referred?
Typically. So oftentimes parents have referred them.
Hmm.
This particular client I was working, it was her parents that have been my clients for a long time. Um,
Okay.
they they just phoned me one day and said we have a question, and then through that question we engaged a little bit more. I asked more questions of them, and then they decided to work with me.
Okay, excellent. Okay. And you mentioned the Know Your Customer, the annual meeting to discuss material changes. And you had mentioned to me earlier that there were new regulations coming in January, stating that
Yes.
that might maybe
Mhm.
more meetings were suggested, or how will
Correct.
that
Yeah.
change what you do?
Well, so with new regulatory requirements coming in, and I won't go into detail of what those are. I'm not a compliance officer, but as an advisor, we're facing a lot coming down the pipe in terms of, and it's definitely know your client,
Hmm.
and those rules are becoming more strict. So it was, we should be meeting our clients once a year. That's probably not going to be the acceptable case moving forward. Regulatory bodies are going to want to see our meeting our clients more frequently than that. And then also with know your product coming down the pipe. So as advisors, we have a lot of compliance that we need to deal with. And two, this is where I think with SNAP, having that as a tool in your back pocket, I think is a very useful resource. So that, if you're audited, and we all get audited at some point, you have evidence to show that you've walked through situations with your clients. You're going to have evidence to show that this plan was updated. So to me, that really offers some solid backbone
Hmm.
that I can easily prove to any regulatory body that I meet with my clients regularly. The plan's developed around them. I have clients sign off if they don't take my recommendations. I have them sign off saying that it has been presented and that they've
Hmm.
declined that approach, or went with the alternative solution, whatever have you that way. So this helps me keep my documentation up to date and really clean.
Yeah, excellent, excellent. So it's satisfying that compliance piece for you as well.
That's,
Yeah,
that's right.
very good. Okay. So one question I'd like to ask you is, and this is a sort of a little bit a pie in the sky, but it's something that I think a lot of people wonder about. Um, what do you find is the most difficult in advising your clients? Like, what is the biggest challenge that you deal with when maybe getting their buy-in or getting their trust or
Yeah. Well, I think probably the most difficult part of the process to ensure I'm doing my job correctly is making sure that I dig in deeper with these clients. I did have a situation once where husband and wife, and we went through the goals and trying to quantify them, but at the end of the day, they weren't on the same page
mm,
terms of their goals. So, one person sat, more quiet in the meeting, and just kind of nodded, whatever have you. But that plan was never going to work because that one person didn't have buy-in. So that approach in terms of, when you're planning with a family, just asking those questions to really dig in deeper, I find is probably the most useful tool. And sometimes we get caught, and especially if you've been in the industry for a while, we start thinking that we have this bird's eye view and we go, oh yeah, I know what we need to do here kind of thing. But what we need to understand is that if you're not digging in super deep, and people say, well, we want to have, you know, this retirement by this time. What does that retirement look like? So retirement planning was very different for the wife than it was for the husband. You know,
mm,
he wanted to explore in retirement, travel, things like that. The husband, he just wanted to go golfing, you know. So it was a different way of spending money, spending time. And I think, you do have to understand their time and their goals, and with that, and then we can quantify it. But if you don't gather that information and ensure that you're super deep in with those questions, that's where the plan can fail.
yeah, and how would you approach that when you have a couple that have different goals in retirement? Do you continue with one plan or do you try to have sort of a two-tiered or
Yeah. And well, with that, it's still all about them.
yeah.
So, it's kind of turning and going, well, you guys clearly have different plans. So we need to all get on the same page here. So, that's where it offers them that opportunity to actually really think about their future as well. And
Mm,
then obviously they need to get on the same page. So, and that's like any relationship, there has to be compromise. So,
yeah.
and there's also compromise in the plan then. So I think at the end of the day, it was a good exercise because they did have to walk away and have these conversations with each other. And I'm sure, there was probably frustration and whatever have you. But at the end of the day, they had to figure it out. And then we had to come back and review those goals and go through that process again.
That's right. But if you can't have those uncomfortable conversations, you can't achieve, success on the other side. Um,
Absolutely.
and that's a difficult thing to sometimes tension isn't always bad.
Yeah.
It can feel bad, but at the end of the day, you're solving a problem and moving in the right direction.
Well, I think that's what comes out of it. And, I would probably say, when I was earlier in my career, I was nervous to ask those questions. I felt like I was prying, or, I was getting into something where they didn't want me there. And now I discover that it's the most important thing I can do. It's the most beneficial thing I can do for my client. And, doing it the first few times and talking about death and illness, and, that, oh, you guys don't agree on your plan. Well, I'm very factual at this point, because it's like, well, your plan's not going to work then. Because if you guys aren't on the same page, this isn't going to happen. So you guys have to figure that out first. I can't do my job properly if you don't, get on the same page and actually get me to quantify these goals together. So having that more kind of straight approach, they're not offended at all. In fact, they kind of walk away going, wow, we wouldn't have addressed this.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. That's very interesting. And so would that be sort of the one of the biggest challenges that you've encountered over the years, or is that sort of a rare occurrence where two people
Um,
aren't on one page?
I no, that I don't say that happens a whole lot.
Yeah.
Most of the time when couples are together, they have thought about their future and goals. I think the biggest thing that I see is people don't understand how easily their plan can be blown up by extraneous.
Mm,
So,
okay.
whether that's job loss,
Mm-hmm.
whether that's, like I said, disability, illness, death, whatever have you. And actually, this just happened last week. So, one of my clients I've been working with for about 16 years, and they're my age, so young. um, they, the husband fell down his staircase
Oh,
and he hit his head numerous times on the way down. And he ended up in a coma on life support on Sunday.
oh my gosh.
There's 4 children and his wife. And it's like, wow, if we didn't have a plan in place. So anyways, but he has come out of the coma,
Mm,
which is good, but we're talking this is going to be a long road to recovery. He's not going to be working. Thankfully, he has benefits in place, but we all know that, you're going to get about 66% of your income over the long term.
mm,
So is that enough to sustain what they have going on? No. So thankfully, with these clients, there is a plan in place
mm-hmm.
that we're going to be able to help walk through this incredibly difficult time.
Yeah.
And with these clients, it was 6 months ago where I pointed out these gaps and said,
Wow.
yeah, you guys are healthy. There, what could go wrong? He fell downstairs, you know. So it's shocking what we actually see. And I
Mm-hmm.
did, I did an assessment on my book with these stats that were out there. It was like, well, they say 1/3. I actually went through my book and I was like, it was exactly 33% of my clients that have experienced this. So it's true. And when you
Wow.
share that story, and this is the important thing, is it's these stories. Our job is to share stories and
Mm-hmm.
help people, get to that next level to understand what these gaps could potentially do. So when you share a story where maybe they didn't have a plan that was in place and it blew their plan apart, that's where it's important. That's where we come in and where we can actually save these people almost from themselves if they, don't believe in insurance or risk management.
Oh, exactly. Wow, that's incredible. And so do you find that storytelling is an effective way to get through to clients that might be a little bit resistant or just maybe just not able to put themselves, in somebody else's shoes and think about what may or may not happen?
Absolutely. And if it's not a story, that I'm sharing, it's also creating their own stories. So,
Mm,
you can look at their plan and go, well, this is what could potentially happen if you go this route. This is what could potentially happen. So even getting them to create their own vision of what could happen. So if a story, say, doesn't fit, create their own and point it out.
that's right. And you can do that, quickly and easily and snap. You're building the multiple scenarios, and that's how you can build out those what if scenarios for your clients and show them the actual, the actual information right in front of them with a graph and some color to show them
Oh,
what that
sure.
looks like.
Well, there's
Yeah.
nothing like taking the software and, like I said, it's so user friendly and you co-create it and go, well, now what if you don't have income here? And you can remove all their income right in front of them.
Mm,
So now that's blowing, contributing to your investments. That's taken away this. Now we're going to have to pull from your investments to create that income. And now look what that looks like. So your assets are going to be depleted by this time. So you actually manipulate this with your client. And that's where they really see what could possibly happen if they choose, one route over another.
exactly. That's so interesting. And it's such a high value, impactful conversation to have with your clients to actually, you're not telling them, you're showing them.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it's
Very
so
different.
different. Yeah, it's so different. Oh, that's really neat. Okay. I have a few more things I want to ask you. I just want to remind everybody listening here, we are going to do a Q&A at the end. So please send in any questions that you have. Um, you can just open up the questions tab, hit the little arrow there and send me your questions. I've got quite a few questions that have come in throughout the session, so we may not have time to get all of them, but please send them in as they're coming up for you. Another thing I really wanted to ask you is if you have any tips for new advisors joining the industry. So I know when you started, you built your practice the traditional way, and eventually, you became a referral-based practice. Somebody that's starting out today isn't going to start out the same way that you would have, because that's just not the world that we live in.
Not
Do you have
legal.
any? Right.
I used to
You
get the
know,
phone book out.
right, right. Yeah, the white pages, right?
Oh God,
Do
we don't
you,
even have that anymore.
no, exactly, exactly. Um, I remember using the white pages in my first job when I was 15, telemarketing, using the white pages, just calling. It
Yep.
was a very long time ago. That ages me. But do you have any tips that you would share for anybody that's still sort of in that beginning first few years?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the things is you never give up. And I think to start, you have to be, I worked 15 hours a day for a decade. I put a lot of time into my practice, and essentially I looked at that like it was an investment. I was
Mm,
literally investing that time in myself. I was poor. I was eating craft dinner. It was hard, and it is hard, but you don't give up because it's one of the most fulfilling and rewarding careers out there financially, but also, on the side when you help people, there's nothing like it. Your hair is going to stand up on your arm all the time. So first of all, stick with it. You don't give up. But this is a numbers game. This is all about ratios. And if you're not getting yourself out in front of people, you're not going to meet those ratios. So, now when we look at things and go, wow, well, how do you get into the industry when you can't, we can't telephone solicit anymore. We can't mass email anymore. There's, all these restrictions in place now. So I'm a people person. So when the pandemic hit, it was like, now what? So if there's any other people like me where it was, I use like resources. I was out all the time. I was walking around, meeting people.
mm,
That really put things in a damper as well. So I'm not a very techie person, but social media, I think, is probably a huge way to go, and that's going to help hit some of those ratios, and it really is setting yourself apart. So whether you're a dual licensed advisor, figure out what's setting you apart. At the end of the day, mine was passion. I just wanted to make a difference because I thought it was the coolest thing. When I was looking at someone, I was like, no, I can help you and watch how I'm going to do this because it's really cool. So it is finding that passion, and then it is the numbers game. So really try and narrow down who it is that you want to work with. And you know what? You have to go door to door. You have to, if you're not starting out on a team with someone,
mm.
you have to get yourself out there and you have to get recognized. I think one of the biggest misconceptions as a new advisor is that you need to know everything and you have to have, knowledge of absolutely every area. Well, no, you need to have the people in front of you first. you know and it is one of those things where we're always learning. So I'm still learning all the time. Like I feel like I'm still brand new in the industry sometimes, where I'm going, I didn't know that. And we're learning. So it's that self-confidence. Be confident and continue to go out there. So whether that is creating centers of influence, I think that is a huge step to go. So right now, actually just this week, I'm setting up meetings with mortgage brokers. So I just want to expand my center of influence environment right now because of the pandemic. I can't be out there like I was before. So utilizing those resources, I set up a meeting with a realtor in town. So this is just to create that referral type of process. So
Okay. And so when you say yeah, the center of influence. So that's sort of your own personal professional network
Right.
where everybody can be sending work back and forth and supporting one another.
Exactly. So, one of the things with mortgage brokers, they're right now that business is booming. We have such low interest rate environment right now, and people are going in and taking advantage of this process. So whether that's people going in to borrow money against their property to invest or whatever have you, um, setting up that relationship with the mortgage broker, and it might just be an in to do mortgage insurance, but then you take Snap and show them what else you can do, and it will grow. It will just grow. Get your
That's
foot
right.
in the door. That's it, get your foot in the door.
Well, and thinking of prospecting, do you ever use Snap with non-clients as a prospecting tool, or have you only used it for existing clients?
So right now, I've only used it for existing clients.
Hmm.
Each client that I have used it on has referred me at least 2 people. So
Wow.
my business grew, and it's a fairly new program for me. So I
Mm.
just started using it, like I said, in the pandemic. So I was playing around with it initially because I thought, I'd kind of go back to my own way of doing things. But when that started happening and that trial period with these clients, I started phoning up everybody. And so, and I still have a lot of room that I need to get to with my clients because they're not all on this yet. I haven't had the time.
Okay.
So there's going to be a lot happening that way coming up. So I see 2022 being very busy utilizing Snap as my approach. Um, and that's great for advisors who have a book. Go in and do it because it's phenomenal. Your clients are going to love it. There's no word of a lie here. There's nothing like it. Like I said, I started in this industry in 1990 and I've used tons of planning software. This has a different approach. And the biggest difference is the co-creation. And like I said, so your client has skin in the game. It's going to make all the difference. They do talk about it. It's phenomenal. It's the only program that I've had clients walk away and go, I need to tell people about this. So, use this as your referral resource if you have a book of business.
Oh,
And if you don't, get out there with the centers of influence. I'd bring Snap absolutely to a realtor or mortgage broker or lawyer meeting. I'd bring Snap, show them my example and say, hey, meet with a lawyer who does estate planning and wills and go check out this program that I have because I can help your clients through probate, maybe bypass probate in certain investments and circumstances. And this is what it could look like.
oh, neat.
Yeah.
And that's another, I guess, time-saving tip as well, because a lot of advisors wind up spending, 10 or 15 hours building a plan before they meet with a client, and then they're not able to meet with as many clients, and it spirals. It's just the cycle, right? But when you're not having to spend that time up front in order to achieve a better result, I mean, it's a total game changer for just for time management.
Absolutely. Well, with one of the clients that was a referral from the client where I went in the neighborhood, essentially, I just brought my laptop. I went and saw them in person. I brought my laptop, didn't know anything about them, didn't know their goals, nothing. So we sat there. The meeting was about an hour and a half. We went through all their goals and everything, brought up Snap, and we created their current situation together.
Hmm.
And then they were like, oh, wait a minute, no, I have 10,000 over here. They didn't even realize I had money kind of scattered all over. So
Mm.
then what happened is they went, oh, well, can you take that 10,000 too? I'm like, sure, sure I can. So
Well,
it was literally sitting with them and putting it together. And like I said, their goals and concerns, their data gathering, and what that plan looked like all happened in the first meeting in an hour and a half. So prior to that,
wow.
that was 3 meetings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and that's so
And then
interesting.
time with Navi Plan or whatever have you, when you went to go and do it, it was like, oh God, now I got to do all that work. Not anymore.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And with the data gathering, that's always traditionally a big challenge, is to get all the information because people just don't know what they have everywhere. Um, and so do you find that sitting down with people, going through it, entering it all in, that helps people to remember all of the different things that they have?
Yeah, well, and this is interesting too, because this just happened. So going through it, and like I said, the clients get excited about this. This is when they see it and they can actually, I'll turn my computer and just say, enter that in right there, see? And when they do that, so these clients, they found the 10,000 there and other money over here. We ended up putting some insurance policies in place because there was gaps, and
Hmm.
they saw the gaps and they're like, well, I don't want to leave her like that. And I'm like, no, you probably don't. So then with the approach, they're like, okay, well, I don't think we have anything anywhere else. But, our parents, I know they want to leave us money. So can we add that in somehow? Because we know we're going to get this. So then
Mm.
future date, comes into the process. But now I have a meeting with the parents because they're like,
Ah.
yeah, I can help them pass that to you in the most tax efficient way possible. So
Hmm.
that's where that comes in. So it's like, I mean, the tool has just brought so much to what I do, but for the clients, like it just brings value after value after value.
That's incredible. That's so neat. That's a really cool story too.
Yeah.
Uh, oh my goodness, look at the time. We have 8 minutes left.
Okay.
I guess we should get to the Q&A. So, what I'm going to do here is I've just got a few things that I'm going to address first because it's questions that we always get in the Q&A. So I'll just run through this right quick, and then we are going to take it to the chat and see what has been sent in from our attendees. So at this point, you may be wondering if SNAP might be useful for your practice and wondering what SNAP uh, would look like for your own financial and retirement income planning needs. When you choose to partner with SNAP, you're going to get a whole lot more than just another financial planning tool. If you do want to take it for a spin, everyone is offered a 14-day free trial. And as soon as you sign up for that, you're going to get a ton access to a ton of additional resources. You're going to start with booking a one-on-one training and onboarding session. And your next step will be to take advantage of our regularly updated video tutorials and articles from our support team. After that, you have ongoing and unlimited access to our qualified and dedicated team whenever you need one-on-one help. We are just a phone call away. And you're also going to get client-facing support resources, such as our financial planning questionnaire, the complete financial plan review checklist, and more. So we're here to support you every step of the way to ensure you have everything you need to be successful. We even have a para-planning, division that's exclusively for SNAP users, for advisors who need some additional support getting their financial plans created. So I'll just show you quickly what our pricing plans are as an independent advisor. You have two plans that you can choose from. Our main module, which is called Advisor Business, the one in the middle there, includes a comprehensive feature for corporate planning as well as data sharing for teams. If you're a single user and you don't require any corporate planning capabilities, you're safe to start out with the Advisor Professional, and you're not locked in. You can change plans at any time. So you can enter your credit card details to start your account and access your free trial, but you're not billed right away. Monthly billing starts at the end of your 14-day free trial. And we also offer a full 30-day money-back guarantee on that first payment. So we give you ample time to really get in there and try it out and make sure it's a good fit for your practice. I'll drop in the chat now the link that will take you to this page. So you can click on that link so that you have it, so that before the webinar closes out, you have that tab open. So I think that's it for that. So what we will do now is I'm going to go look in our questions and see what we have here. Okay, so one good question from Rita. Do you charge for your plans, or is it part of your, service, or is it something that you separate out?
Right. So I don't charge for the plans. That's just part of what clients will get working with me. You can charge. It's a whole other compliance route to go down. So I haven't gone that route.
Exactly. Okay, so it's a value add for your current clients. It's not a separate service.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. And what other financial planning software have you tried before Snap? I know you mentioned Navi. Is
Yeah.
there anything else that hasn't worked for you?
Yeah, so there's Navi Plan Extended version, Chronos, Razor. Oh God, there was another one that I used. And some of them were easier. I'm not a techie person at all, so I just want to kind of get that out of the way here right away. Not techie in the least. So, using these other more kind of tech savvy programs such as Navi Plan Extended, that was tricky for me. Razor was a little bit better. Chronos, the data entry was okay, but what I found was the reporting didn't come out client friendly. The manipulation of the software was not easy to be able to take, current scenarios, create new plans. And sometimes when I was looking at it, and it could have been data entry from my part, but it came out wrong. So it was, I found
Okay.
it very frustrating and cumbersome.
Yeah. Yep, that makes sense. Okay, and next question here I have is from David. What tools do you use to illustrate a plan blowing up from a premature death, disability, critical illness? If you use Snap for this, can you provide an example?
Sure. So one of the things with SNAP is you take the current situation and they have the insurance section on it. So if they do have existing policies, you can put those in. And it has the full net worth on it, and it will show, so whether it's a term product, it'll show when it expires, and that could coincide maybe with a mortgage being paid off. So let's say something happens to these clients in terms of work. So let's say they have no income coming in, then you can go in through SNAP, remove that income. So you can select exact years. So let's just say we're going to take an example of the client's not going to have income for 6 months. You can go in and manipulate the software to remove income for 6 months and show them what that will look like. And so do you now have to remove their contributions during that time? And then now you're
Mm,
going to see, how does that impact your investment? So
yeah.
those are the interesting approach. And you can use certain, there's morbidity rates and mortality rates and everything out there, and you can project, if a client is, if we know that the average time frame is about 2 years before the age of 65, that a client is going to be disabled, and you remove that income for a period of 2 years, their contributions, etc., and we'll probably have to draw on some investments because where they're going to get their income from. You can
Mm,
manipulate the software to show that. And what I find cool about it is you can just go into an individual cell to
yeah.
manipulate item and then click run, and there it is. It's that easy.
Exactly. It really is that easy. And you know what? We have about 60 seconds left here, David. So I think I'm just going to pull open a plan and show you, and that'll be our big finale here, assuming this works. Because what I can show you is an existing plan that I actually have set up with an insurance plan. And what we would do here is we can see, oh, there's no insurance plan here. That's okay though. Is we can go in and we can add a life insurance plan. And so it's really this simple here. So we're talking about an insurance tab. You can click the insurance tab. You can add an insurance policy, and you can also work through a life needs analysis tool. And this is how you can help your clients to determine what level of coverage they need. You're going to enter in the information here. It's based on percentages that are already built into your plan. And then you're going to get a comprehensive report that you can share with your clients. So it really is that quick and simple to build that in, and then we can easily be manipulating that data very, very quickly in Snap. So very cool. Okay, well, we are at 4 o'clock on the dot here. Well, 4 o'clock my time. I'm sure not many of you are on Atlantic time. I know it's much earlier in the day for you, Renee.
Yeah,
Um, well, thank you so much for joining me today. It has been an absolute pleasure learning about your practice and learning how you use Snap and how it's helping you and how it's helping your clients. And I look forward to chatting with you again. And if there's any questions I didn't get to, I will follow up with you via email.
great. Thank you so much for having me.
My pleasure. Talk to you soon.
You bet.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.